Om Shri Sai Ram, offering my most humble and loving salutations at the lotus feet of beloved Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Happy to bring you another episode of his story through the eyes of his teacher. As we have started this series parallel to our students episode, we are privileged and blessed to hear perspective of those chosen instruments of Bhagwan who have been a real role model and inspiration and guide to many of the students. Today, we have another teacher or another person who played the role of a teacher, who plays the role of a teacher, telling us his version, his perspective on Bhagwan and his musical journey. So let us start this program by our prayer, and I request all of you to please join me in. O Lord, take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to Thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for Thee. O Lord, take my soul and let it be merged in one with Thee. O Lord, take my mind and thoughts and let them be in tune with Thee. O Lord, take my everything and let me be an instrument to work for Thee. Today, his story through the eyes of the teacher, we have Brother Nishikant Barodekar, who is working as a professor in the Department of Music, Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, and the college is called the Sri Sathya Sai Mirpuri Music College. We know it like that. Brother Nishikant's journey started, in fact, if I have to, it's a very beautiful journey, which has really started in our Lord's previous avatar, when his grandmother, Hirabai Barodekar, was blessed with an interaction. And this journey of avatar and the devotee continued in this form too. And Nishikant ji had many privileges from his childhood to interact with Bhagwan, to see him in his close proximity, perform for him with many of the great illuminaries of our musical industry and musical world. And then in 2006, Bhagwan brought him into his direct fold and made him part of the music college. And Brother Nishikant continues to serve the institution and Bhagwan in that capacity. So it's my pleasure to welcome and introduce to you all Brother Nishikant. Sai Ram Bhaiya.
Sai Ram ji.
Welcome to this episode of his story through the eyes of the teacher. It gives me a great pleasure to have you in this program, and we are eagerly looking forward to hearing the beautiful stories from your side. So
I'm very
welcome
much
to the
thankful
program.
for Bhagwan and to Brother Abhimanyu ji for yet another sharing episode of his love and his story.
Thank you, Bhaiya. I know you are known around the world as a tabla player, and you have, by Bhagwan's grace, got a very good name in this field. But as we know, tabla players are also good singers. So you can't be an exception to that. So why don't we start this program by a small bhajan from your side or whatever you feel like?
I'll try, sir. I'll try.
Sure.
प्रेम से गाओ पावन नाम, प्रेम से गाओ पावन नाम, राम नाम रघुनंदन रामा, राम नाम रघुनंदन रामा, प्रेम से गाओ पावन नाम, पावन नाम, पावन नाम। ओम श्री साई राम।
Saira Bhaiya, as I rightly guessed, you have a beautiful voice too. So, brother, let's start this journey. As I already mentioned in the introduction, your contact, I would say the seed of the family started from Shirdi Sai. So why don't you give us the glimpse from your side and tell us quickly about that?
Yes. First of all, I was very lucky, and I am very lucky to be born in the house of not just a musician, one of the topmost musicians of the country, but one of the very dear and loving, you can say, a devotee of Bhagwan Baba. And since my childhood, I mean, rather, I can say the first picture I saw in my house was of Bhagwan Baba. So I was so fortunate to be born in that house. I'm talking of nobody else than my grandmother, Padma Vibhushan, Gan Hirabai Barodekar. She was one saintly lady, and many of our devotees know about MS Subalakshmi Amma, as in the south. So Hirabai ji was the similar, the stature was almost the same for the North Indian style of Hindustani classical vocal music. And her father was the great Ustad Abdul Karim Khan Sahib, the founder of Kirana Gharana itself. So I'm very blessed to be born in that family, thanks to Bhagwan. That's just his sheer mercy. And whatever today I'm sitting in front of you and sharing all uh, the blessings and love Swami has showered on me, it's only because of her and my ancestors' punyai. That's what I offer it, first of all. It's nothing about me, but it's the greatness and the great devotion to Bhagwan, which I am, enjoying the fruits. So the journey is like that, when my grandmother was a young girl of like maybe 5 or 6 years old, and they were traveling, the parents were traveling, the family was traveling, she developed a very high fever. And I'm talking about the year 1910, 1911. Okay. And in those days, medicine was not so frequently, I mean, it's not so easy. You can go to a chemist shop and buy something. It was not that way. So, but what was told later that she had diphtheria, something with the throat, and yeah. So she had a very high fever, and the co-passengers in the train asked the gentleman, her father, that it's better, we deboard the train and show to the doctor. She needs treatment. So they were waiting for the station and all that. So they deboard the train on the next station, and they were searching for the doctor. There was no doctor around, and hardly any people over there. And one Tanga fellow, a Tangawala, a horse cart,
Horse cart.
ride they used to have that time. He saw them and he approached and said, "Kya problem hai? What is the problem?" And they said, "Doctor hai kya kahin? Vaid hai kya? Hakim hai kya koi?" तो यहाँ तो कोई हकीम नहीं है. There is no doctor on, but I will take you to Baba. He is very close by over here. And they were taken to Shirdi. They were very close. So Swami Shirdi Baba was sitting there, and they saw them coming, the family carrying the baby, and Swami called them from far. Now, this story, what I am telling you, is the exact version of what I had when I had asked Swami in the interview about my grandmother, Bhagwan Baba, Shri Sathya Sai Baba ji had mentioned the whole story, which he had asked me later to share in Hardshi talk. The same thing I'm just quickly narrating it to you. So,
It was
Shri
authenticated by Bhagwan himself.
yes.
Okay.
So Swami called them and he said he was quite rustic and his Hindi was like quite blunt kind of thing. So he said, "Bachchi ko idhar lao, bachchi nahi marti." That's what exactly Swami had told. So I mean, bring the baby here, bring the child here, she will not die. So he gave her some dhuni. From dhuni, he gave some vibhuti. It's called udi. They used to call it udi. Still in Shirdi, it is called udi. Vibhuti is called udi. So he applied and gave it to her to drink and all that. And later she was cured, and they were there for 2 3 days. And Ustad Abdul Karim Khan Saab, he participated in the songs and abhangas which are going on there. So Shirdi Baba asked him, "Ki, are you a singer?" So he said, "Yes, I am a singer." So he said, "Why don't you sing?" So after he sang, he was there for 2 3 days, and the story goes on that Shirdi Baba had given him some coins too, and said, "Now you can go ahead, you can travel. The baby is out of danger." So that was the start. Then later, um, when my granny was 60 years old, that was 1965, and there was a big function in Pune because we belong from Pune, and the function was to facilitate, felicitate granny. All the top musicians of the country were to come down and sing and perform for her. And that time Indira Gandhi ji was maybe information and broadcasting minister. Anyway, so the message came one day before that भगवान बाबा श्री सत्य साई बाबा इज इन बॉम्बे और वो आपका गाना सुनना चाहते हैं द सेम डे एज हर बर्थडे दैट फंक्शन डे. So she was like, wanting to go, but like the family and all the students and everyone said कि आपके लिए सब लोग आ रहे हैं और आप ही छोड़ के जाएंगे. If they are coming for you, how can you go? And it's like very. So the next message came that you can come in the morning and I'll send you by afternoon and you will be there for the function. So Swami arranged that. Swami is Swami. So she went to Bombay and performed for Baba. And when she touched Swami's feet, Swami said, "अरे तुम तो पहले साई से मिल के आए हैं." Swami said that we have already been because what Swami doesn't know. So she couldn't understand. Then she was told. So that is how Swami,
Certified.
yeah, he kind of certified and
Acknowledged.
pulled us the whole family in his fold.
Beautiful. I think if you can quickly on the same streak give that story about Bhagwan for going for the concert.
Yes. Later she started. Swami called her to Puttaparthi. She went to Puttaparthi many times and carried along with her several artists, along with Bhimsen Joshi. So Bhimsen Joshi, Swami came to our house in 1974. I was quite a young boy. And when Swami came, Bhimsenji also was there. So Swami, as usual, when he came to the house, he blessed everyone, sat down, some sweets were given, some coffee was given, all that. And then he asked my grandmother, Hirabai ji, ki aap kuch gaiye? You sing, why don't you sing for me? So she said, Swami, I have been singing for you, but today I have Bhimsen Joshi here, one of our Gharana, male singer, and he's very good, and can he sing for you? So he sang for her, and that was the introduction. And then Swami called Bhimsenji to Puttaparthi also. So that's how the things developed, and we went. And later, around, say, like somewhere between early 70s, my grandmother was called to Delhi for a government program to sing for the delegates of the country, various countries, in the Parliament House. So that was a big kind of a program, and it was like set up and decided and fixed a couple of months before. That time, register letters were there. There was no phones were very less, and we don't have mobiles. Forget all that. So naturally, it was all set up. The date was set up. In between, as the date came closer, there was yet another call from Puttaparthi saying that Bhagwan Baba wants you to perform on this and this date in Puttaparthi. Uh, can you come? So it was the same date as that Delhi date in, she was going to sing and was decided. So she was naturally, she wanted to go to Baba. She was a very pious and very, God loving being. And she was very saintly, very simple. No, I mean, just few lines about her, if I can say, that her simplicity and truth was such profound that just to look at her and talk to her was like people used to like think twice before they talked. And she was very simple and very quiet natured. So she calmly said, "Okay, I will go to Puttaparthi. I will cancel my Delhi program." And she was very fast in writing letters because she was so busy and she used to handle her own concerts quickly, dates and all that. She didn't have secretaries and things. I mean, there were some students, so many students. They could help her and all, but she used to handle it herself anyway. So she cancelled the program and she went to Puttaparthi. She performed for Swami. She stayed there for 5 6 days. Swami called her every day. Almost they had a talk. That time interview. I mean, people were so few. It was like every day, everything was with Swami. So later, when she came back and back to Pune, after 15 20 days, another register letter arrives saying that your Delhi concert was very much appreciated by the delegates of blah 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 countries, and you are invited to sing to those countries. And behind there was a check of the remuneration, that performance thing. So what she thought, my grandmother thought, it might be a clerical mistake, government clerical mistake हो सकता है ना, तो it's possible. And she again kind of sent it back, saying this is a mistake and I'm sending back the check and all. So when they got it, they called on the phone and say, "What are you talking? You had come there. There are pictures, there are photographs of you singing." And she was in Delhi. She had a very close family friends over there. So she stayed with them. She cooked for them. Cooked means like, it was like so homely. So everything she did, and yet she had never been to Delhi. She was in Puttaparthi. So what was that? So it was all Swami's Maya, his Daya. And, if he wills, if he just says that is the Sankalpa, then he takes over.
That's nice. I think this is when she is getting the Padma Bhushan, right?
Yeah.
From the president's hand. That is nice. It's really beautiful to think that how Bhagwan attracts his devotees and to what extent Bhagwan can go to save and please a devotee's respect, because she gave it to Swami and Swami responded so beautifully.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And I think you were a baby at that time when Swami, you must have interacted. I believe Bhagwan visited your home too.
Yes. That baby part I will quickly narrate because it's a very funny thing my parents told me. After I was born, my parents came down to Parthi, and when I was 8 9 years 9 months old, to get blessings and all. So, but naturally, interview was given, and my father, my mother was carrying me. Swami talked to them, blessed them. Vibhuti was given, and when the Vibhuti was when the interview was over, they were going back to their places to sit. Swami again called them back, come back and take Pad Namaskar. That's what Swami said. So my mother told me that we both went over there, and my father took Sashtang Namaskar, full prostration Namaskar, where my mother was holding me and she could not understand how to take Namaskar. So she told Swami, "Swami, can you hold him so I can take Namaskar?" So that was, her reaction was that. So my mother said that, I made a mistake, but that was not a mistake. It was a, biggest blessing ever. I was
She
blessed
gave
by
it to she gave you to Bhagwan to hold it. So sweet.
yeah.
Nishikanth, when you think about it, your grandmother was such a renowned singer, blessed soul. Then your father, everybody was a singer. It is quite natural to presume that you would also go into singing. How
Yes.
did this journey of singer became a tabla?
I had started singing when I was young, naturally, because in my house, if you enter the house, there are only two things you can find: all music instruments everywhere, Hanpura, tabla, harmonium, all kinds of surmandal, this, that, everything is there, akhwaj, and Swami's picture and God's the altar is there. So those were my toys, if I can remember. Those were our toys, and In fact, you know, when my grandmother used to teach and conduct, or we can say coach the students in a higher standard, and for them she used to sing along. So there was a tabla player who used to accompany and keep take for the song, and I used to sit in front of the tabla player like this, you know. So whenever he went off, I used to start playing. So it was the other way around. That's why I became a lefty. In fact, I am a righty. I write with my right hand, but only tabla is the only thing I do with my left. That was the answer I found. Anyway, coming back to this thing, I used to learn vocal classical along, and definitely my sisters were much elder than me and much better than me. So I had was very fortunate to learn few rags like Yaman, Boop. But in that, when as I was growing and in school, I developed a throat problem, and they found out that I had tonsillitis. So those were the times when Swami used to frequently go from Puttaparthi to Bombay by car. Farm used to go frequently and stop by in Pune, stop by in Sholapur, and go like that. So when I was a child, when I was saying that when I was a child, I have seen Swami drive, and I used to drive very fast. I've seen Swami drive. Coming back to the story, that the the doctor said when he checked, it was a family friend doctor and a very senior retired person who came back from Africa, Mr. Joshi, and he was 70 plus already, and he was a heart patient. He had several attacks, and he had these injections ready with him and all that. And he said, I will operate on this boy. And so as usual, I was the operation set was set, and the operation was about to begin. I was there, and I'm on the table, and they put the anesthesia, and the operation starts. But halfway through the operation, that doctor who was operating on me, he got a massive heart attack and he fell down. So everyone, naturally, the other doctors and nurses and who were there, naturally were there to save him and quickly oxygen and this, because it was not so, as quickly available as we have facilities today, naturally.
Oh my God.
So in that, all that, chaos, I was lying there on my bed unconscious for like maybe 40, 45 minutes. And my vocal cords were, I think, damaged. So some local house doctor came by and he completed the operation. And it's a small operation, but still, I was told by the doctor, the senior doctor, look, these things you have to follow. You're not supposed to eat anything for 2 days. You have to drink only, have only ice cream and this and that. And all was told. And I was okay, like fine. It was paining for me. So the same evening, Swami was in Pune. Swami was there. And we were supposed to go along with my grandmother to take Swami's darshan. And she was supposed to perform for Swami, be there. So we all went, and we were in the inner chambers after the bhajan was there. We were in the inner chambers, and Swami made asked her to sing. She sang, and I was sitting there in the corner, and Swami looked at me and he called me like that. That time Swami was like real chubby, very beautiful pink cheeks and big halo of hair, and having pan. So he called me, and I went to Swami, and he caught hold of me and made him sit nearby. And he waved his hand and materialized a peda, a sweet ball, peda, everyone knows peda. And he was trying to give it to me. So I remember that thing in what the doctor had told me, you're not supposed to eat anything for 2 days. So I was like wondering what to do. Swami is giving. So everyone said, come on, Swami is giving, have it. That time, Swami told that I know what happened. Today he had an operation, and during the operation, the doctor fell down because he had a massive heart attack. Wo mara nahi bole, he didn't die. That was told. Yeah. So, hello.
Yeah, carry on, carry on. We can hear you.
So he said he didn't die, but he has lost his voice. So that was because it was a few hours.
You had lost your voice.
Yes. And I did not
Okay.
know because it was just few hours, and there was no kind of talk or anything because it was already paining. So that's why Swami made me have the peda. So lo and behold, I had the peda, and today I'm sitting in front of you, chatting with you. I can't sing that excel in a professional manner, but I can talk, and thanks to Swami, he's given me my voice back. That's most important. Yeah. So then after that,
Hmm. Hmm.
a few years, and Swami told that, yeah, tum tabla karo, you do tabla. And I was learning tabla, I was having this, but I was feeling sad because I could not sing and my voice was having problem. So I started learning in Pune. There were good teachers there, and we had Ustad Gulam Rasul Khan Sahab, one of the great tabla maestros, the student of Ustad Amir Hussain Khan Sahab, a very profound traditional tabla player, very famous. So very happily he started teaching me. I learned with him for 6 7 years, and then due to some reasons he was not well later, and then the great Ustad Allah Rakha Khan Sahib and his son, the genius Ustad Zakir Hussain, they were frequently visiting our house, performing. All see, our house was like a mandir, a musical mandir. It was always open. The doors were never closed, and artists used to come take darshan of Dadima. If anybody's there at the lunchtime, they have to have food, and it's like gana bajana chal raha hai, bhajans are happening or say music is going on. So I mean, I'm talking about all tops. Kumar Gandharva, Kishori Amankar, Bhimsenji was like house person. He was like our family, Bhimsenji. So that was the atmosphere we grew in. And then I started
Was
learning tabla.
Bhagwan
So,
was Bhagwan involved in your moving to any of your
yes,
gurus?
yes. Then because my earlier guru was not, he was unwell, and he could not teach me much. I mean, later because of his health. So I when I heard Ustad Allah Rakha, I said to my grandmother, I want to play that kind of tabla. I want to play the way Zakir ji plays and all that. So he said, wait, it's not that way. So she took permission of the earlier guru, and then it was set. But yet, then again, visits to Swami were there, and then Swami guided, "Ha, Allah Rakha ke paas karo, Allah Rakha ke paas karo." So Swami was the person, I mean, Swami was he himself guided to learn from Ustad Allah Rakha. So that's how the training started, and I started going to Bombay to Ustad Allah Rakha to learn.
So you were in Pune and you used to go to Bombay to learn from.
I had to go to Pune. I had to go to Bombay. I was just entering college that time, and for 3 years I did up down every day, almost at least 5 to 6 times a week. And that time trains were slow, and like there's no reservations, and a whole lot of people going standing in there. So I was like 5 hours going, 5 hours coming, and I was to waste like 10 hours just in traveling. And then when you go there, Khansab is there, you play for him, you learn with him. One more thing I would like to mention about the training part, the way Ustad Allah Rakha Khansab taught us. Uh, Gurukul style, yes, it was Gurukul style. Even what we teach in our music college also is Gurukul style, but the facilities are different. But basically, let me come to the concept, the traditional guru, how they taught. So the first day, I can remember that the first day when I went to learn with Khan Sahib, Zakir Hussain arranged the date and all that. And this day you go, Abbaji. We used to call Ustad Allah Rakha Khan Sahib Abbaji. Everyone calls, all the students call him Abbaji. So when I went to their house, I rang the bell. Khan Sahib himself opened the door and said, "Come in, come in. Nobody's there today. They have gone for some marriage. I am alone at home." So that was like wow, kind of. But I was carrying some sweets and a new book, nice Camlin hard copy book with a pen and blah blah all that to write all the notes what he will teach. So he looked at me and said, "ये सब क्या लाया है?" तो said, "Abba ji, some fruits and sweets and some flowers, and this is a book to write notes." तो बोले, हाँ, बुक बाहर छोड़ दो, आज से बुक बाहर रहना है, इसको बुक बनाना है. You have to learn and write everything and remember everything whatever here. So since then I never wrote down anything what he taught us, and it was just direct. क्या बोलते हैं ना, Gurumukhi Vidya. That's why it is called Gurumukhi Vidya. So that's the traditional way to learn and
So
teach. But in
sweet.
institutional music, in colleges and schools, we need to have, because there's a syllabus, there's a theory, there's all this thing we need to have. Even
Before
later,
we
we sit back
before we
and
come to, yeah,
when
sorry.
I sit back and I remember all these things, I had to write down, because sometimes you get mixed with other
Yeah.
compositions. So it's to have the authenticity, we need to write it down, but that's later. While learning, no, it's just direct learning. So it is like the vidya comes in like a big gush of the how the river flows, a full river. So it's up to your capacity whether you can
How much you want to
hold
hold it?
on to a bucket and hold a bucket full of water or a spoon of water. So that's your
Before
capacity.
I before I really take you through that journey, I would like you to pause and tell me one thing. I had heard Bhagwan had come somewhere in that there was a time when he sang. He took up a tanpura and sang in front of all of these
Yes,
ustads.
yes, yes. That was one
So
of
I
the
would like you
trips.
to.
Yes,
Hmm.
that was one of the trips when I was much younger and I was in school, and somewhere in Bombay, I do not remember whose house it was, but some other Carnatic singers were there, and they were singing for Bhagwan, and Dadima also was there. So, you know, so everyone suggested after they finished that Bhagwan should sing. Please, Bhagwan, sing for us. So he was like kind of okay, no, it's okay. You have sung, everything is done. We was kind of shy, but then everyone like kind of no, sir, Swami, please, like so. The Tanpura was not of his Shruti. His Shruti was very high, like F. So my grandmother quickly took the Tanpura and tuned it for him and all that. And I heard him sing full classical kruti and some Panduranga, Purandar Dasa Krutis from Swami. Pakka as a Kruti with the Gamaka, Khatka, Thans, everything. And I was fortunate to even keep Theka along with that, whatever little I could do. So I have heard him sing, playing a Tanpura and sing. Yeah,
Because we have seen his picture with a tanpura,
yeah.
and we didn't know that did he really play, sing, or was it just a for picture he had taken a tanpura. But after
That
hearing
picture
his
I
story,
have
I feel,
found that's much earlier. That's much earlier.
yeah,
This was later, yeah.
but it's
Yeah,
beautiful. So you heard the whole song with him. How long he
yeah,
did he
he sang
sing
the
there?
whole Kruti. Pakka. Yeah. Gana
Very nice.
Vilula. Bhagwan is what? He's everything. That's why we call him that.
And
Yeah.
I hope I wish somebody had recorded it, because it is one of the rarest thing
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
Swami would sing down the whole, kruti like that.
Sure, sure.
Beautiful. Okay, just to give a, because you are mentioning about your joining about your Ustad Allah Rakha Khan Sahab, and it'll be appropriate for the students also and for the normal people to understand what it means to be with a guru of that stature, and how did your day flow? Was it any routine? Because I believe you stayed with him also.
Yes.
So you
Uh,
had that whole opportunity. So if you can give us a glimpse of the
sure.
amount of practice and how he molds his students, that would
Right.
be interesting. So
Uh,
please.
um, so I was, as I told before, that first 3 years I used to travel every day and all that. One day, my guru was sitting and he was already ready. I reached there and I was tired traveling and I came down there and I was all wet. I remember it was rainy season. Bombay rains are very bad. So he said, "What is all this? Why are you wasting time going back and coming? Why don't you stay in my house? Stay with me and learn." So that was the time, I was like very happy and also like very shocked and thrilled because it was more responsibility now. And, it is like getting upgraded somewhere. And see, these people, they were not just artists, they were not just musicians, they were beyond all that. They were for us, like, Vimsan ji or Jasra ji or Ustad Alaraka Kanzab or Shiv Kumar Sharma or Pandit Ravi Shankar or Zakir ji. For us, they are not musicians. For us, they are rishis. They're like rishis of music. So they are in their own world, but still they are connected. The connection has to be very, clean and very strong. To get connected to them is very, very important because what I little bit understood about in all my travel and I'm still learning that these musicians, as we call term the musicians or artists, are the source where if you get connected to them or they get connected to you, I'm talking about even a normal concert, a paid ticketed program. Okay, there are moments where you get connected with the artist and you get so connected that for that moment of time you forget everything and it's just music which is directly going in your heart and it's kind of soothing your soul. So that kind of connection, what is that magic? So my guru was telling me that there are certain times where because they are on that level of plane and they're they are almost like touching divinity and then they get connected with the divine while performing. And then the main thing is when they get connected with the divine, if you are connected with the artist, you get connected with the divine too. So that is the main thing. So we felt that several times, and we were very lucky to sit right next to them, with them, perform along with them, and to experience whatever little bit we could understand and learn out of it. So this was part of training, listening, because music is like 25 to 30% of learning, and the rest is all your own practice, your own creation, your own approach, your own, that riyaz, what do you say? The talim is there, but the riyaz is more important. It's a penance. You have to do it as a full-time job. I mean, for us, for me, even though I was in college, I bunked college, and so everyone knew about it. Luckily, my principal was helping me out in that because he was a flautist, and I used to play with him. So all Swami somewhere, Swami always was there everywhere, and the training part was there any time of the day. Khan Sahib, Allah Rakha Khan Sahib or Zakir Ji. Well, Zakir Ji was always traveling. That's why when I spoke to Swami, they said about Zakir Ji. He said, no, 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 Zakir to bahut घूमता है बोले. वो अब्बा के पास सीखो. He said अब्बा के पास सीखो. That was his word. So because घूमता means because Zakir Ji was traveling and he's busy every day doing concerts. So anyway, I was lucky to be with his father, the great maestro of Punjab Gharana, Ustad Allah Rakha. And the time, there was no like a fixed time, it was like any time of the day he used to come on, start teaching whatever, because he used to continuously have his thing going on, counting. Even if he's having lunch or dinner, sometimes he forgot and he's counting. So his amma ji used to say, abba ji khana khao, baad mein karo wo sab, khana thanda ho raha hai, So I remember there were some certain times when throughout the day we have been learning, practicing, having great food on the home, working in the house also, little bit, like helping with the chores. It's like we are the family, we're part of the family, so there's nothing new. Ironing Guruji's kurta, or pressing his feet, that is part of the, it becomes part of the training course, because the connection is there, because anytime this thing is going to come out and you will feel and you will share. you know so many times it happened that we, after dinner, when the concert was there, like Pandit Ravi Shankar ji and Ustad Allah Rakha Khan Sahib, and we used to go along with them and sit back on the wings or somewhere and listen to them, and come somewhere at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning home, and Ammaji used to cook fresh rotis and feed us and all that. And so now it's time, we are really tired, and the whole day we have been there, and it's time to sleep. And then Abbaji says, "Ha beta, tabla nikalo." That was the time. That was how it was. There was no, kind of particular time. Ichha hogi.
How was Khan Sahib's approach to Bhagwan? Because he had been coming to Swami from long time.
Yes. Ustad Allah Rakha Khan Sahib was a very pious, very simple, very, a very happy man. Happy means like, I felt that he's a realized soul. He was. And as I said earlier, for these people, music is beyond religion. That's what he had said. Music is beyond religion. It has no religion. So they used to worship their own mazhab. They used to, they have a Saraswati picture, they have a Ganeshji statue at home, they have a Christ's cross over there. Everything is happening at the same time.
I
So,
believe Swami has given him a lingam also.
yeah, Sarva Dharma Samabhava. So, they believed in it. And they, especially Hansa used to say that this Vidya has come down from Saraswati ji, and the rhythm has been started by Shivji and his son Ganeshji. Ganeshji started the Pakhavaj. That was the main thing, how it was. And the Damru of the Shiva. That's why even Zakirji today, when you hear, like when he played for Swami's
plays that.
90th birthday, there was a piece where he played the Shiva's Damru, So the link is there, and that's how the belief is.
Beautiful. Do you know how he came to Bhagwan?
Yes. When I asked about that, it was when I was too young, that he had been performing several times in front of Bhagwan in Bombay, in Puttaparthi, along with many artists, sometimes with Pandit Ravi Shankar ji, Pandit Shiv Kumar Sharma, and Ali Akbar Khan, and many, many artists. So interactions were there, and there are some clips we have. There are many pictures we have, and Swami was very fond, especially in the music, in the instrumental side. Swami was very, very fond of sitar, tabla, mridangam, Very, very famous. We're very, very fond of that. And he used to love
I
that.
have a I have a small clip of Bhagwan interacting with them. I think it'll
Yes,
be nice to show that.
please, please. Yeah, this was in Bangalore, and you can see Pandit Ravi Shankar ji, and behind him there's Ustad Allah Rakha Khan Sahib sitting.
You can
Yeah,
see that
he's
clearly.
something. Yeah, that's the Vibhuti first he gives, and then later he creates again something for Khan Sahib. Khan Sahib is having it. Yeah. Now you can see Khan Sahib sitting clearly over there.
That is Bhagwantam ji sitting on his right, and
Yeah,
Ravi Shankar ji on his left, and then
correct.
Khan Sahib.
Again, see Swami is materializing something he gave for a Mridangam player. He gave him also something. Yeah. So these interactions were many times, and then he created one. Swami has given him a ring also, having a Shirdi Baba Murti on that for
Oh,
Ustad.
Shriva figure.
Yes,
Hmm. Look at the informality and the comfort loan which
yeah,
Bhagwan is. We also had a privilege of watching them, to
right.
interact with Bhagwan. That was really nice.
And I have seen in my, I mean, many of the devotees have seen around the mid 80s. Sometimes Swami used to call the musicians inside in the Purnachandra hall before coming out for darshan in the afternoon, and Swami coming out in darshan, holding at one hand Ravi Shankarji and the left hand Ustad Allah Raka, and walking in darshan. Coming
Yes,
out.
yes.
It was so wonderful to see that. Yeah, that kind of
I think
love. See, musicians
till
can
80s, till
one.
80s, we have also seen it so beautifully. And
Yes,
their visits were very frequent and very informal.
very
There need
informed.
not be any occasion. Whenever they came, Bhagwan used to organize a concert right there. He says, "Ha,
Yes.
bajao," and then
Ah,
it would start. It was beautiful blessings.
yes.
So, Nishikanji, let's move from that journey and let's continue with your trip. So, I believe you got involved with the organization, and as you grew up, you were part of Sevadal.
Yes, that was very much. Let me just quickly mention whenever Swami used to ask me, "Pucho kya chahiye? Pucho kya chahiye?" So I used to
Hmm.
ask Swami, "I want to be a student. Please take me as a student." Swami said, "हाँ करता है अभी wait करो." So करता है 8th standard, 10th standard. I am now going in college. Swami student करना है, हाँ करता है. तुमको तबला करो, वे करो. And he's talking about things. And unfortunately, he never made me a student of his, in institute. But today, when I sit back and think, that I understand that maybe he wanted me to study outside the subject with the great Ustadji. And, later then I was very fortunate to be here, and he pulled me in as a teacher to be in the music college. So before all that thing happened, I was participating regularly. I was a Balvika student, of course, and have in my childhood I've performed several times as Balvika students do for Swami, and grew up with that. And Swami was always asking about my training and all that. And then I joined the Sevadal. I was the Sevadal, and that went on for like more than 12 to 13 years. I was very, very fortunate, and also was part of the PS. PS is the Prashanti Security Seva, uh, which is a little upgraded session, of Sevadal. And during all those times, I was, used to come down to Puttaparthi maybe 2 times a year, 4 times a year. And in during that time, my performances had begun, and I used to travel. I used to go out and perform, go
I
abroad,
wanted
and
to show the picture of you before you started getting converted. So
that
that
time I
is
had a
Nishikant.
beard. Yes, and this picture
That
is
is
from Vrindavan, Ugadi, 1995, I guess,
mm,
94, 95. And I did not know the move. I was called by an artist to come and perform with him, and then I found out that it was in front of Bhagwan. So it
so
was so
sweet.
beautiful. This was the Sevadal
This is a Sevadal time.
Pad Namaskar, promised to give us prasad and Pad Namaskar. Those times.
Hmm.
This was with my Guruji Ustad Allah Rakha. Especially this picture is from Kerala, where I need to narrate that because that's an interesting thing. This was much later. This was in 1999, and just before my marriage. Swami got me married, so just before that, I was like kind of engaged. And my guru, Ustad Allah Rakha Khan Sahib, was not keeping well. His health was not much well, but yet he was invited and to be felicitated and with that award of Manaviyam. That's a very big award in Kerala, Trivandrum, the government award. So Ustad Zakirji asked me that Nishi, you go along with Abbaji and you be with them. Abbaji, Ammaji is there. So I was very happy. And he said, you take your tabla also. So I was very happy. I thought, ki, chalo, ki, we'll get more training. And, it's always like tabla has to be part of it. So there's nothing new. And Abbaji was supposed to perform short with a group of artists over there as the concert, because the president of the country was going to be the presiding, and it was a big function, like kind of a live relay on TV. So when we reached there and we settled down one day, 2 days before, his concepts health deteriorated even more, and he was unwell. And the day of the program, he said, "No, I'm not going to play today. I won't play. I cannot play today." Then he said, "Nishi, tum baja lo thoda sa, unke sath baith jao." That's what they used to say, baith jao. So I said, "No, no, Abbaji, I can't do that. And it's not my cup of tea. And you are supposed to play. And everything is for you over here." He said, "नहीं नहीं करो थोड़ा सा करो मैं बताता हूँ तुमको, just do it." So I was supposed, then when I few hours before we sat in rehearsal, it was a Tal Vadya Kacheri, and there was a Edaka maestro, there was a Mridangam maestro, there was a Tavil maestro, and they were all like big giants. They were all Ustad al-Larkas of their instruments, and and here I am, a small kiddo, kind of to sit and play along with them. It was very difficult. So he quickly gave me 2 3 tips, and he said, "Don't worry, I will." Then I said, "Abbaji, please sit wherever you sit. I will sit next to you. You please be there and bless us." So he sat there and he was giving the tali. And before that, before the curtain went up, there was something happened. I definitely went very nervous, because it's not about the audience. I was not worried about the audience, but to play in place of the guru is not, in Indian tradition, it's not possible. But because the circumstance was like that, and what he said, Khan Sahib said, "Aaj to tabla bajega, tabla bajna chahiye." So it's not like he or who. It was like tabla bajna chahiye. So that was what he said. So I had to obey the instructions, and when I was on stage and sound check was going on, I was very nervous, and I just remembered Swami's teachings, what he had told us, and in the interview room with other artists, that some artists had asked, Swami, stage पे जाते हो तो कभी कभी घबराहट या stage fright हो जाता है, nervousness होता है थोड़ा सा शुरू में, then slowly तो उसके लिए क्या करना चाहिए, how to get over that? So Swami said, no, if you are practiced well and you have to have a calm mind, you have to be very quiet, and but if you have that kind of a feeling, you remember me, I will always be there. That's what Swami, I remembered that. So I very dearly and lovingly, truly, I prayed to Swami and said, Swami, this is it. And there is no bigger event than this in my life on my tabla and with my guru sitting and all blah, 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 blah. I'm just standing. I open my eyes and I see Swami standing right in front of me, blessing with both his hands, Varadahasta. So that was like my kind of, I was so thrilled. I after that, I do not remember what I played, when the concert started, when it finished, what happened. I don't remember. And everyone said, it was nice, and they kind of blessed me. So, Swami, if you really, truly, pray to Swami, he always comes to your help, always comes to your help in one form or other. So this is my personal thing, of course, but as Abhibai asked, that's why I shared it.
No, it's beautiful. Why not? It's good memories. That is with
This is Pandit Bhimsen Doshi, and after
Bhimsen Joshi.
the operation, he's had a brain tumor operation. He has had a knee fracture also. After that, he had performed for Swami in Purnachandra Hall.
Thanks for telling his story of how he also came to Bhagwan. That's nice.
Yeah.
His coming was always a joy for all of us. Amazing singer, amazing.
He was a massive singer. He was a massive artist, and whatever, when he sat to sing, it was like his way of meditation, his way of prayer, his way of, because he didn't care who's sitting, who's watching, what is there, you are on camera, or what is the time. It is all beyond all that. He was just with himself, and he's going all over the town, moving around and singing, and especially in front of when Swami made him sing in Puttaparthi or in Vrindavan, and the boys, the students naturally enjoyed that. Swami used to turn and make faces and kind of enjoy. So that was different, but the connection between Bhagwan and Bhimsenji was adbhut, what we say, very really, very very dear and loving for Swami. And
Nishikantji, a very strange question for you. It was somebody had mentioned this question to me, and I wanted you to explain that. You know, learning from Ustad, such eminent personalities, was it expensive affair financially?
well,
I can't say did they charge how much they charge, but
there's nothing wrong about it. Uh, well, first of all, to be his student is not like fill in an admission form and a registration fees and blah 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 blah. Oh, nahi tha. It's not that way. The they are selected by the teacher. You need to get to be selected by the guru, because there are many teachers, but there are really very few gurus, like really at that level, that stature, and that at that capacity of and that dimension. So for them these things are just like they're not existing. So as you say about the fees part of it, you will be very surprised that the only fee we need to give him was better practice tabla, better love, and perform and get the gharana name going on. That was that was what they expect. No money, no nothing, nothing of that sort. Absolutely only love, 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 connection of the heart. That's it. Yeah.
so sweet. I
Now
think
the
brother Ramanan is online. He's asking.
more commercial and well, it's going, it's changed, not the same. But the true gurus even today, like I don't want to name, but when in whichever field, I'm not just talking tabla, it might be painting also, it might be horse riding, it might be anything, any art, because they don't expect money at that level. They expect that yes, somebody's there to carry on forward, and
Who
it's very
can
difficult.
learn?
It's very a big responsibility to do that.
As they say, when we're looking for a true guru, the guru is also looking for a true student.
Yeah.
So it's like
Maybe,
that.
I don't know whether we deserve that, because as I always said in the first sentence, it's all mercy of Bhagwan. That's it. We do not know whether we are really capable of that thing or not. It's only a sheer love. Yeah.
Brother Ramanan is online. He's asking how Swami asked you to deliver Vibhuti in time before Bhimsen Joshiji's operation.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to quickly mention that.
I used to come frequently to Puttaparthi for seva, and fortunately for me, I was, they used to give me a room, because I used to carry tablas and Swami was interacting. So, the arrangements were made that I used to get a room. So, in such one of the trips, I came down and, I found out that my God, darshan is already on. So, I kept my luggage and thing, and I ran to the mandir. And with Bhagwan's grace, I was always, allowed to, from since 95, to go inside the bhajan hall and play tabla along with the bhajan boys. An outsider. I'm not a teacher. I was not a student, but it was just Bhagwan's mercy. So, the same thing happened, and I went over there, and I sat there. Bhagwan was in the interview room, and later he sent a message and he called me inside. He called me inside and he, Kab aaya? So quickly, Swami was so fast. Kab aaya? I said, Swami just coming. Haan, okay. And he created Vibhuti. I thought, my God, I am not even just changed my clothes. I am here, and lo and behold, Vibhuti is there, and I'm in the interview room. And he said, "Ye tere liye nahi, Bhimsen ko jaake de de. Bhimsen ki tabiyat." See, Swami is so humorous also, भीमसेन को जाके दे दो, उसका जो है, एंड तुम जाओ, जल्दी जाओ, अभी है वैसे जाओ, go. He made me go immediately. I mean, whatever money I had in my pocket, and I went, and somehow I reached Pune, and I called from the STD booth. That time STD booths were there, and mobiles were not there. So they said, no, he's in the hospital very close to the station. I went to the hospital, and I go, the lift was full. I went all the way walking up to the operation theater and all that. And we won't believe, when I go to the operation theater floor, I go and I'm looking at searching for the theater number. There comes a stretcher with Bhimsenji there and his family, and he's about to be taken to the operation theater for operation. And I said, "Wow! I mean, Swami has sent Vibhuti, Swami has sent Vibhuti." So they were like, everyone stopped by, and Bhimsenji was awake. I mean, he was not yet in under anesthesia, and so, I told when I showed the vibhuti in Marathi, he said, lava. Lava means lagao. Vimsiji is always very innocent, bindas guy. So, I give it to his son, though he put it in his mouth and we put it on his chest and applied on his forehead and all that. And and then that part, when everything was done, Vimsenji looks at the doctor up there, because he was lying down and doctor was standing. He looked at the doctor and said, Abhi mujhe maar ke dikha. That was the sentence what Bhimsenji said, Now you can show and kill me. Now Swami sent me. So that kind of love, that kind of faith, I mean, you can't imagine. I mean, so then I understood why Swami hurried me to go immediately. For when I went to the station, you won't believe the train was about to come in 15 minutes. Somebody comes to me and says, I have an extra ticket going to Pune and I get a berth. Everything is happening. When he wishes, everything.
No, it's very sweet. I'm Marketika. You should now kill me. Try killing me now. Lovely, lovely, lovely. I think such people, there are million stories of that. We can continue. Okay, I believe you started coming to Bangalore, and as you were mentioning about the performance, and before you became a teacher formally, you had already started teaching some students. How did
Yes.
that happen?
Yeah, that picture which we saw of me with the mustache and Swami holding my hand standing next to Swami, and at that moment, Swami said, "Abhi tum Puttaparthi aao, come to Puttaparthi." So immediately, the following few months, Swami's birthday was there. I went before birthday, and then I was asked to perform for the birthday thing and all that. So uh, I went with my whole family and performed for Swami. And after the performance, he said, I will talk to you tomorrow. So next day interview was there and we all were in interview. And Swami spoke and everything was done. And then some of the bhajan boys went to Swami, I think. I can name a few: Suresh Ramswamy, B. Shiv Kumar, Neeraj Acharya, then Sham Kumar. I think he was there. From these 4 5 people. They went to approach Swami and said, "Swami, this tabla person is there. Can we learn tabla from him?" Something like that happened, and I was the next day I was made to sit in the veranda in front of the Swami's room, and I was like, "Wow, something special." I thought maybe because the interview is there, and there comes Swami in darshan and all that, and he's taking other people for interview and all that, and then suddenly Swami comes out and says, मेरा स्टूडेंट कुछ तबला सीखना चाहता है, तुम तबला सिखाएगा उनको? The way he asked, no, तुम तबला, okay, will you teach tabla for my students? They want to learn tabla. I just fell at Swami's feet and I was weeping. I said, Swami, I've come here to learn, not to, like, what are you asking? This is like a big thing for me. But thereon, then, these 4 5 boys, they used to come and learn tabla, and it was very funny because I was not allowed to go to hostel, being a hostel boy, and they were not supposed to come in the private rooms. So it was all like somewhere else. So it was, you won't believe where we initially that first 2 3 times when I came, it was in Sir Chakravarti sir's office, Chiranjeev sir's office, which was opposite the South Canteen, ladies' canteen. There was a office, and they put a curtain, and behind the curtain in the small place, we used to 4 5 people sit and do all that. Then
Because
later, then
Chakravarti
later,
was managing the mandir at that time with the
yeah,
Chiranjeev outside. Yes. So
and then
that
later,
office you were using for teaching the children.
when my trips were more frequent, then Swami asked me to do in Vrindavan also, and they went on. This went on. When the music college came, that was in 2001. I had an invitation just as a visitor to just be there. So I was there. I was not part of it that time, and I didn't know anybody. Sir Mirupuri sir was there, his family was there, and all the inauguration was a grand thing. And later, when I was coming, then Swami told,
But
"Okay,
it's
tum."
so sweet to watch how he prepared you from childhood
Yeah,
and put you around, even though you were regular to Parthi. But he didn't allow you to become a student in that way,
Yeah,
because you could not have actually learned under these gurus if you had joined the college
exactly.
naturally.
Also, in several times when Swami used to talk in private, or when in group interviews, he used to ask me, "Kya chahiye, kya chahiye?" So I used to say, "Swami, I want to be here. I want to be with you. I want to." He said, Abhi nahi, abhi tum young hai, abhi bahar jao, program karo, kamao, earn and come back. Don't stay there." He used to make his eyes big and say, "Don't stay there. Come back." He used to say. I mean, that was Swami's way. So maybe it was the time. The time was not ready that time. But when later in 2001 the college started, but even then he didn't appoint me as a teacher. He said, "You can come, and whenever you come, you teach my boys." So it was told to the vice chancellor, and I used to regular. They used to have a small syllabus done, and I used to teach them. So this went on up till 2007. 2007. But in between 2005, around that time, uh, Swami, I was married and I had a kid of like two, four,
No,
five
we
years.
have to talk about that.
Okay.
Actually, we have to talk about that
Okay.
because I believe Bhagwan was involved even in that, the
Yes. Yes.
selection of the girl. You
Yes.
being a musician, traveling around the world, and I'm not crossing the line, but yeah, how did Bhagwan come into play?
Well, in that interview in '95 with my family, Swami, teased me a lot, and he told my mother that I will get him married. I will get him married, and I will search a girl for him. So my mother was very happy about it. But after that, for 3 4 years, Swami just made a complete fool out of me. Every time, everywhere he used to, shadi ho gaya, kitna bachcha ho gaya. He used to just come out with things. Are you married? How many kids you have? Swami used to ask. So like once I was sitting in one of the programs for Swami, and I think it was Ashadi time, Ashadi Ekadashi, Maharashtra program, and you know I, the tabla box was there, the big case was there next to me, and tablas were outside. I was ready with the tablas. So Swami comes walking with his hand behind, and he kind of looks inside the box like that, and I was wondering what is Swami looking at, and then looked at me and said, "I'm just watching whether you've hidden a wife in there." I mean, Swami just used to come out with anything like that, and it was like, for him it is what it's just like, so it was like, such a loving time, such a great time, because with Swami, you never can, predict what is going to be happening, what he's going to say next or do next. So during this times, naturally, of course, there were some proposals coming about marriage and all, pictures and all that. So my mother used to say, we're going to Swami, show it to Swami and let him select, all that thing. So people told me, look, don't wait for Swami. He will keep you waiting, because there are many people. He said they will make we get married, and they're still waiting. They're So I took, and I kept those pictures, and once in a while, maybe once I got a chance, I showed, and Swami just showed my hand. No, 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 no. I will tell you, he said. But later, then, uh, Swami, was like happy, and he blessed me with, having a, what do you say, this proposal had come, and Swami said, "Okay, iske saath karo." So he took the picture and showed, "Iske saath karo." So my wife, she's from Delhi. They were staying in his house, Prerna, and they were all Sai devotees. She's the daughter of Professor Prem Luthra, great writer, and he's written, I think, 15 to 20 books on Swami. Great English professor, and the whole family is full devoted. So it is all Swami's, decided, and his blessings. Yeah.
So you got married in 2000, I believe, right? Or
99.
1990,
Yes.
99. Okay, 99 you got married, and then 2000 was the inauguration of the music college,
One. Yes.
and you
Yeah.
continue to teach the student till 2006, 2007
Yeah.
period.
Yes. I was frequently for Sevadal and other things, and APS and concerts and all that. So every time Swami used to say, "Wait, wait, I will tell you, wait, I will tell you." So, but one day in 2007, as usual in the morning darshans, in fact, 2005, he called me, because my son was, we wanted my son to get admission in Swami school.
He
So,
named him too, right?
come again?
Did he name your son?
Yes, yes. He gave an
Yeah.
interview. We used to just call him Sai Sai. So when in the interview, Swami named him Sai Tej. So I asked Swami, Swami Sai Teja or Swami, there's not Teja, Swami Tej, and he says Sai Ka Tej. He did like this, Sai Ka Tej. That's why I said. And then he told, okay, I will tell, I will tell Devi to get him admitted. And so I didn't understand Devi, so it was she was talking about Munni Auntie ji. So then the formal test was given and all that, and he was a student. And my wife was very happy because that was the first child, and she said, "No, no, I don't want to leave him, and I can't stay alone without him and all that. So I would want to stay in Puttaparthi along with for 2 3 months. Let him get settled." So I went back to Pune. I was like doing my things and concert and all that. And later, when I came back and I found out that that batch of boys were very crying, they were crying too much, and there was a you know they were missing their parents and all that as usual. So anyway, Swami called all three of us to for interview, and then Swami blessed him, and then he asked my wife, "हाँ, पुट्टपर्ती अच्छा लगता है क्या पूना अच्छा लगता है?" So she quickly looked at me and said, "Puttaparthi अच्छा." Swami said, she's looking at you." I said, "Hey, Swami will make fun, you know." So she said, "Puttaparthi अच्छा लगता है." Swami said, "Okay, then रह जाओ इधर. You stay here." And like, it was like that was the time when it all started, 2005. And then end of 2005, then 2006 we came down here, and we were given a room in the ashram. And then Swami very strictly and very firmly told, "Look, for 6 months you are not supposed to step out of the ashram, not to go out of the ashram." So I was like,
Nishikant bhai, just to continue on the same line, I
yes.
believe from what I heard, 2003 and 2005 was a
Yes.
very interesting period of your life.
Oh yeah, that was the time when I was in Pune and I was struggling with my concerts and my career. And suddenly it so happened that normally I used to travel, perform, go outside, abroad, and perform, and quite it was going on a little bit okay. But suddenly the concerts dropped by. I mean, dropped off, and for those 2 periods, the 2 months, the 2 years, when I came, I realized there was no concert. It was like complete dry. Suddenly, it just went off. Phone calls used to come. This is there, that is there, but they used to get cancelled, waved off, or something used to happen. I didn't understand what was happening. It was like we were all worried about it.
Divine interference.
That's the main source. Rozi roti kapda makan, all that. So
Divine interference.
is there. So then that was the time when Swami called in for interview after that. And then he told her to stay here. And in between, before coming to Parthi, before that visit, I got a contract from Ustad Shahid Parvez, the great sitar maestro. And
Fantastic.
it was a big tour for USA, Canada, Europe for 3.5 months. And it was quite a big, sumptuous kind of tour. And I was very happy. Ki, chalo, after 2 years, I'm getting some contracts, some concerts, and everything will be okay. All things will be cleared off and all that. So I took the contract and came down to Swami to show Swami happily, "Ki, look, Swami, this is, please bless me so I can go and perform and, all that. Have a normal kind of a thing." So when after in that interview, when he spoke and finished with my wife and he was talking with my son and all, then he looked at me and said, "Yes, sir, what is your program?" So my file was ready, but meri himmat nahi ho rahi thi. I was not, prepared to show it to Swami. And he was looking like that. Then when he saw like that, then I showed the file Swami, SSA contracted as a big tour. He was just looking at my face and he just did the thing. He said, "No, no contract. Nahi jane ka." That's it. I was like, looking at him. And then he said, "Abhi tum idhar rehta hai." That's what he said. "Abhi tum idhar rehta hai." Swami is Hindi. Now you stay here with me. It took me like 1 2 seconds to realize what is happening. I was not like worried about what the concert tour or was it, but it was so because Swami was so close by, and the way he said out of love, "Abhi tum idhar karta hai, mere sath rehta hai," and I fell at his feet and wept, and like we all were like blessed by him, and from then on we stayed here. So that's how it was.
So then you continued. You didn't go to concert, and you became
Well, then
the
later,
part of the
the
festival.
first 6 months when Swami said, "Don't go out," then one day I asked Swami, "Swami, college to jana padega. I have to go and go to college and come, but don't go here and there. Be in the ashram." But what he meant was, actually there was Atirudra Mahayajna and all these things were lined up now. So then he took me to Kodai in 2007. Then before that, the first trip was January 2007, Atirudra Mahayajna, Chennai.
Chennai.
Yeah,
Chennai.
that was the first trip he took over there. And then it all started. Whatever since then, wherever Swami had visited, I was fortunate to be selected and you know go along with
I
Swami.
believe you that time you played before you played with. Uh, you remember you had mentioned somewhere about you playing for a Balvika's children after
Oh,
Bhimsen Joshi's
that was
concert.
much before. That was much before.
Mm.
That was like 2002, three, sometimes that time. We used to come every time, every year, and every function of Maharashtra Ekadashi, Ashad Ekadashi. So one of these programs, one of this year, they had fixed Pandit Bhimsen Joshi's performance, and I was given the responsibility that Kinishi, you have to get Bhimsenji here, perform, take care of him, and again go back and like you have to be around with him. That's your task. That's your project or whatever top job. So I was very happy.
Priority.
Yeah. So of course, Bhimsenji was like grandfather for us and like a family person. But still, to be with him and to perform with him is he is somewhere over there and we are at the end of the down at the bottom there. So, but he was such loving and he was very loving and. Well, initially it was so that around that time, in those 2 3 days function, there was some Balavikas rally also. Then some young boys and girls where they were going to sing some nice and a tiny tot songs and all that. And I was supposed to be there just to help them out, play tabla and just guide with the whole thing. So that also was one of my duties. So what before that one day what happened that Swami suddenly asked Bhimsenji to sing before the day he came. Only he said you sing. So naturally, Bhimsenji sang, and it was like it was a massive kind of a program, fantastic. And next day morning, the morning program was supposed to be the Balvikas children singing, and I was supposed to play with them and be taken care of. So I was there, but there were other some tabla players also. So I thought I played yesterday with Bhimsenji, so I can maybe not play today, give somebody a chance. I don't know what kind of feeling came to me, and I was there sitting there, and everything was arranged. And Swami came, sat down, and when their turn came to sing, and the kids were about to sing, Swami looked at me. He said, "Stand up, go there, sit, and play the tabla." Kind of. I said, "Yes, Swami." I mean, so it was like with such authority and such command, such love, and without anything in mind, it's just like that feeling, or the Swami is like looking at you and asking you to play, come play tabla, don't go anywhere. That's your duty. You have to do that.
Beautiful.
Later, then Swami said, of course, when the music college artists started coming, and he said, get artists here, take them to music college, show them the music college, arrange programs, concert, everything. He said, So it's part of. It's not a duty. It's like our dharma. It's our dharma. That's it. We feel so elated when Swami guiding personally that way.
Nishikant bhai, you have been now involved with the music college for many years now, and you have had the privilege of being exposed to many other music colleges, and in fact, you have learned also from the great people. How do you see this Bhagwan's Music College? What is a differentiating factor that you can identify?
Yeah. Well, it's not so easy to compare, but if I try to put it in short sentences, it's much unique. It's very, very unique. And outside, when we see the other colleges, the other students, their performances or their level, it's more on the subject syllabus based or requiremental based or the exam based, and that way. So uh, I do not know how many professional singers can be developed from that kind of institution, or basically it is for job oriented kind of a thing. When they would get a job as a teacher, or they can start their own academy or something like that. That's fine. Very few maybe would be good performers, and it's more like any other college what we see. But here, what is happening is that it is not just a college. Rather, the music or whatever subject a student gets admission for is an excuse for him to have Swami's kind of blessing, and the entire integral education and the hostel system, and the particular discipline, the particular, the values, especially the values, how to inculcate the values, and they are nurtured and like uh, s- naturally imbibed by the students. I can't say injected. Injected is not the correct word. It should be naturally imbibed by the student in that whole process, to watch, the way they learn, the way they, I mean, all Abhiba, you are the student, so you know all of these things. So this is the main factor, in fact, what makes the whole system different. Yet it is a Gurukul, but also a college. So that balance between, the outside, whatever the requirement factors, and the subjects or aspects we require to be a musician, have to be taught. But along with that, as we know that the Sai student has to get up early in the morning, Omkar Supravatam, this, that, and the whole day it's going on till the end of the day, like 10 o'clock maybe, or 9:30. That's what Swami says. Sometimes people used to say, "Okay, Swami, the boys are so overtaxed. They need some break. They need some, rest." Then Swami used to nicely answer them. In one of the trips in Kodai or something, is to Swami, one of the VIPs asked Swami, some senior person. Swami said, "हाँ मालूम है हमको." Then Swami said, for student, change of work is the rest. That's exactly what Swami said. Change of work. If you are tired doing something, okay, no problem. Do something else and again go back to it. Even in tabla or in music, it's a very good way to do that, because if I ask a student, okay, play this kaida for 3 hours, man, that boy will start playing, but he has to be there, he has to work out all that. So it's not like a compelling thing, or it should not be a compelling thing, but still, if it's like happening, and then he feels, okay, let me have a break, so you can go somewhere, you can do some craft or something, help out somewhere, and it's somebody else making a card for Swami's evening program. This change, that everything is of the, whatever is happening, they try to put that love, that pour out their hearts for Swami. That
See,
is the big.
you mentioned very nicely that okay, in this institution, value induction, as we
Yes,
call it, infusion, is the prime task.
yes,
And like any other subjects, music is also a subject through which the children learn.
yes,
That is fine. But professionally speaking, what I hear from you also, and what I have heard from others, when you learn from, say, ustads, like what you learned, you had to play, I would say, 8 to 10 hours minimum a day. And expectation is there that you have to practice for long, long hours
yes,
to
yes.
really get a mastery. And
That's
here
a
you
good
have
point.
students coming for 3, 5 years, and they are put through the same routine of like
Yes,
other students, get up in the morning, suprabhatam, then their music boys also participate in sports, they are involved in the hostel maintenance, they are extracurricular
dramas,
activities,
everything. Yeah.
dramas, everything there, and they have to perform in bhajan every evening. So
Yes,
how do
yes.
they get time to practice? How much time do they really get to
That's a very,
practice?
very good point. Over the years, over the decades, I should say, I've been here, I've been watching this and studying this, and what I have seen that, well, bluntly speaking, outside, if you say outside means in the normal life, when there are musician students, there are other art students, they have this kind of a feeling that baal ko badana hai, aise karna hai, unshaved are there, then they will stay late at night, they will start, all these things are like, they think that artist is supposed to be beyond discipline. There's no need for discipline. Kabhi bhi tanpura chhedenge, kabhi bhi tabla bajenge. Okay, I mean, it's not true. I mean, that's just a kind of an image or some kind of a thing they have in mind.
The thought is
Out
there, the
of also they come
creativity.
out of,
Yeah,
out
they
of
say no, the
also become
creativity
good.
cannot be
Yeah,
restricted.
no,
Yes.
they
So
can practice. They also become good artists, no doubt. But in Swami's college, see, for them, they might need to practice. I'm talking about the outside. If they are practicing 8 to 10 hours, whatever, scattered around the whole day, what happens with the STI students? They have to have as I said, Omkar Subravatam, they have to go to Mandir, they have to attend assembly, prayers, and then the classes start. We have theory classes, we have main subject, then we have other subject, the other subject classes, theory classes. And then there are other chores. Everything is time bound, cut to cut. The lunch break has to be exactly there. Even if you are not hungry, you have to have lunch. But then that's why we make them play in the morning so they feel hungry. And then after that, they have to again go to college. Again, they have to go to mandir. They have to attend bhajans, come back again, have quick dinner, go for study hours, and all this. The whole schedule what we have of the hostel and as you say, the three main institutions: the mandir, the college, and the hostel. That are the three main things. They the amount of time for them to practice is naturally very less. But what happens, the surprising part, I mean, that Swami's, Sankalpa only. In less time, these boys, what the outsiders are practicing for 10, 15 hours or 10, 12 hours, maybe these boys practice for 4 to 5 hours or for 3 to 4 hours, it becomes quite, sufficient for them at that moment of time. That's very surprising because why? How? How is it possible? Number one, they don't have any distractions. They don't have a TV, they don't have a mobile, they don't have whiling away time here and there. Everything is like it's like discipline is there, but it has to come from inside. It has to have that connection. Some magic is there. That magic is the divine magic. That connection happens. As I was sharing earlier with some friends, in music college we get sometimes such admissions and some such candidates come who have no sense of any music anywhere. Like, I don't want to name, but there were some boys who were given admission by Swami in darshan. Somebody's like having darshan of Swami. Swami is going in the chair, around in the chair and giving darshans, and somebody getting up and requesting Swami, I want to be a music college boy, I want to study, blah blah. He's giving letter, and Swami calls the vice chancellor, says, "Hey, isko student karo." And that student is a tabla player. He comes to and wants to learn tabla. So when we have an aptitude test, and then we are all like, okay, neither tabla, neither swar, neither shruti, neither lay, everything is sairam everywhere. So what to do? Then slowly, we do a lot of mentoring. We do a lot of like talking with them, communication, because they have to open up first. When they open up, then it's easy to connect with them. So during that period of time, we understood that this boy, this particular boy, was having he had undergone a major accident. There were 7 operations, and he had a brain thing and thing, all that. And he was very slow. His IQ was low, but yet, chalo, we started teaching what he was happening. We used to help him, give him some special hours. So you have to work along with them as your own children. That is the beauty of it. It's not just like मेरी ड्यूटी है, मेरा इतना टाइम है और मैं चले जाता हूँ, मुझे बाकी मालूम है, तुम करो. It's not that way. So this part of the see, we are not teachers. We are students also. Only teacher is Guru, is Bhagwan. But when we are appointed there to be as guides to them, we have to see that they go and they get to a particular level to go on ahead. So that boy, especially, I was the one who I was talking about. He passed out as a topper. We were all surprised. When he entered the college, when Swami said, "Isko karo tabla," we were like, "What, man? Swami ne bhi aisa aadmi, this guy is like, he doesn't know nothing about it." But this is all Swami's miracle. It's not in our this thing. We don't understand that.
How much was Bhagwan involved with the curriculum creation for music college?
Initially for music college, it was very funny because instead of the curriculum, it was more emotions. Everything was emotional. And Swami was already very so happy. He used to come initially to the music college almost every day in the initial years. First 2 years, he used to come almost every day, make them sing along with them. Hey, chalo, evening, do some program. They are just joined college, but then he wanted them to do everything very fast. Sing for me, okay, make them sit around with him in the dais in Kulwant Hall and make them sing, perform. This is sheer his love, his motivation, that kind. And then, of course, we have now that it's a big degree course. Initially, it was just a diploma, foundation and diploma course college. So I was one of the persons initially in 2000. two or something like that, if I remember. Our earlier principal, Professor Krishnamurthy Garu, now he's no more, but he was a great Veena player, fantastic player, top class artist of Veena player, and he was the teacher. He was the teacher for Veena and Carnatic vocal also. So he and me were asked to sit together, and they said, Swami, may I talk to you? You know, all that things were happening. So you be around. And Swami comes out and says, syllabus kidhar hai? Syllabus karo. So there was some syllabus there. So when Swami asks, because that time we have just from morning darshan to evening darshan, only those many hours are there. So for mobile phones, so we didn't have. So we had to go out and do STD phones and call this ustad, that pandit, that guru, that, and they are all bizarre. They are like, hey, tum kya puchta hai? I'll do. Emails were not so common. All these things were there. So whatever we could do by evening, we wrote it on a nice paper. Ki ye topic hai, and we were meant to sit and offer it to Swami. Swami said, syllabus ho gaya tayar. He took the paper and went inside. We never got the syllabus back again. We forgot to make a copy. So then later Swami said, nee, do it again and make it a nice, elaborate one. And then we had a kind of a formal thing from the vice chancellor, the registrar sir. And then it was like, calling and comparing things from Ustad Allah Rakha Institute, Bombay University, Delhi University, Punjab University, Chennai University, Hyderabad, everywhere we called him. And then we had a proper kind of a system. They had board of studies and board of directors. Everything was there. So he took personal interest in all that. Yeah, that was very lucky.
It's a very interesting thing to understand, like, how Bhagwan has micromanaged everything.
Yes.
And one has to really be with him to learn his gestures and his indications, because he may not talk too much, but by carrying the paper inside and not returning back means it is over. You have to rethink. It is like he
Yeah.
can't say it is bad or whatever, just it's gone.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Was there any kind of initiative to bring visiting faculty as these stalwarts?
Yes. That's what I said. When functions were there, artists were called in, and that was the time. Even before that, before the college also, Swami gave me a lot of opportunity to invite artists, and used to one day. I remember in 2000. No, sorry, 1997. 1997. He called me and said, "Look, there's a world conference coming, and young log aata hai." Swami is Hindi, yeah? Swami, young log aata hai. He said, "Get good artists, young people artist karo, and एक गाना करो, एक इंस्ट्रूमेंट करो, एक जुगलबंदी करो, used to do all that thing, and 1.5 hour he said to organize." So naturally, all things were like, we asked many people, and some nice good artists were brought in. And then Swami used to bless them with next day with the interview, give them vibhuti and gifts and all that, and then say, okay, take them to the college, show them the college. So all these things, started along with the big artists also. So frequently Pandit Shiv Kumar Sharma, then Ustad Shafad Ahmed Khan Sahab, or Begum Parveen Sultana, her husband, Ustad Dilshad Khan Sahab, many of them, they used to come several times, and from the Carnatic system also, so many artists
I
came.
think this would certainly encourage and boost the learning experience of the
Yes.
children also.
Yeah, definitely.
How do you promote creativity in your institution?
Well, creativity is the direct blessing of Bhagwan, and your efforts. Of course, your efforts have to be there, but if you think that if I work and if I practice for 15 hours or 18 hours, I'm going to be an ustad or pandit. No, sir, you are not. You might be wrong. You might be good and excel technically. You might, have a good musical level, but it has to be accepted by the others. It has to be like, appreciated by, and nurtured and appreciated by the audience also. So this one factor is there, but then besides all this thing, beyond all this thing, if there is no bhav in there, you know if there is no bhav in there, then it is just technique. It is there. Many, I mean, there are so great artists we see and we have heard and all that, and in Puttaparthi for functions. And then sometimes Swami used to say, okay, ho gaya. Then he used to call our bhajan boys and say, make them sing in front of them, and see how they sing, how are they singing. And next day, I was like, sometimes fortunate to be around in the interview room or there, and I saw and Swami being asked by the artist. Swami used to ask them, "कैसा लगा हमारा बच्चा कैसे गाता है?" तो he said, "स्वामी वो कितना अच्छा भाव है, इतना प्यार से गाते हैं, ये भाव कैसे आता है उनको? How is the bhava?" So there was one especially I would want to mention this. I was very lucky to be in a private audience with Swami, along with Pandit Shivkumar Sharma, Ustad Shafat Ahmed Khan, and there were two three other artists. So we were sitting in there, and Swami was talking with them. So Pandit Shivkumar Sharma asked Swami, "Swami, इतना अच्छा गाते हैं, ये भाव क्रिएट करते हैं, ये इतना शुद्ध भाव कैसे, because it's very rarely, because after putting the whole life performing for the outside world and all that, but still, sometimes only we get to, touch that bhav or that element of, love which we get connected on that. How we बच्चों को इतना आराम से इतना, how they easily get it, so, then what is the secret? What is this thing? The Swami said,
God.
look, yeah, बहुत, so Swami said, Bharata. This is the Bharatiya music. Bhava Raga Tala. Okay? Bharata. But then Swami said you have to learn it the other way around. You have to start from Tala, then Raga, and then Bhava. Okay? You
Oh,
cannot get
great.
Bhav without learning technique. Some people or persons are naturally gifted with their voice. They have that natural connection, or they have that natural blessing of Bhagwan, where they have everything, almost like, custom made by Bhagwan and send them. And we see them, and we know there are so many people. We have experienced that. But when he was telling about that, he said the secret that, I mean, when he said, somebody was asking कि स्वामी वो भाव कैसे क्रिएट होता है, इतने घंटे हम लोग प्रैक्टिस करते हैं, इतना है कर रहे हैं कि वो इतना भाव कैसे क्रिएट करना चाहिए. He said to create that bhav, first of all, you need to have your character clean. That is what he said. The character should be clear and pure. So then only that bhav will emanate, and that pining for love, that love, pining, yearning for God has to be, presented or worshipped or offered, rather, I should say. Then only it might touch a little bit over there to the God's taste. So that
Beautiful.
bhav is required. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I think only Swami can explain and put it in that
That
clarity.
point about character was so amazing, It's that
Very
character has to be
beautiful
pure.
point. As they say, the proof of the pudding is in eating. How do you can you share us anything about how our students have performed so far
The music
after
college
coming out of
students?
the college? Yes, music college students.
Yes.
Have they become professionals, or what is the general outcome of it?
Sure. Luckily, with Bhagwan's grace, Bhagwan has been not almost every batch, but till when Swami was there in the physical form, till 2011. It's almost like 10 years, sir, now. Every batch was blessed by Swami, to have performances in Kulwant Hall 3 times, 4 times a year. Sometimes even at random, he used to just tell us, "Hey, come here, tomorrow वो 2 दिन में उगा दिए, इसको वो प्रोग्राम करो, ऐसा करो, वो करो, एक त्यागराज कीर्तन करो, एक मीराबाई करो, ये करो." In one sentence, he used to finish and go off. We are just supposed to, by the time we remember, he's gone. So we have to quickly do all these things, and it was fun. It was like a challenge, and it was always like, and Swami wants the best. I mean, for Swami, you need to, how much it is. So day and night we used to practice and all that. And so these boys were somehow, that also is Bhagwan's blessing and his way how to get them trained in that small 2 years or 5 years, student life. He used to make them sing over there in front of him. So naturally, when you are asked to sing in front of Bhagwan, how much will you practice? He will put all his heart out and do that. So this 5 years, 4 years, or 3 years when they're there, I'm saying that almost every batch of that student, I mean, batch from the students who were singers and performers, got a chance, were connected with Swami, blessed by Swami. Swami ne pyar kiya, shawl bhi dala. He gave the biggest shawl, what he gave to Balamuli sir and Bimsanji, lal color ka and all that, big shawls he offered. It is not, हमारी कोई किसी की capacity नहीं है. It is only Swami pouring love and motivating us that way. So many of the students who were singers and who were performers, I had now come. They passed out from the college, and some of them have gone to take even higher lessons from other academies later. Like we have two singers who passed out from our college, and later they were accepted by the Sangeet Research Academy in Calcutta, ITC, one of the biggest Gurukul system of Hindustani music. There they learned under the ustads and pandits over there, and they have become professional singers now. So likewise, we have tabla players. We have so many good tabla players. We have mridangam players. We have veena players. They even now they come up and pile up together. They perform for Swami, but they also perform all over not just the country, but they are going abroad also. They are going abroad. They are teaching. They are conducting classes. They are learning. So many of them have become professional musicians, teachers, and they conduct classes. Sorry, some marriage is going on. Sorry, excuse me. Okay. So this is the way Swami guided them, and they they are settled in life and slowly becoming professional musicians in their own way, along with learning the sound engineering, doing other things related to music, you can say multimedia thing and mixing and this thing and all that. Everything is there. Composing. So many of them have become composers. Yeah. So it's all Swami's. We never know what's going to happen ahead. It's all Swami's wish.
True. Actually, it's a beautiful way how Bhagwan picks up different people, and he finds ways to motivate, encourage, and give directions to everybody. You have had a chance to travel with Bhagwan, and during those trips, I'm sure you would see a different facet of Bhagwan,
Yes,
and how,
definitely.
as people, as I say, Swami would say once to us that never prepare,
Yeah.
be always prepared.
Yeah. True.
So it's a very beautiful statement of Bhagwan. Never prepare, but be always prepared. Because he could
Yeah.
ask you anytime to come and speak or sing or play or whatever. So everybody around Bhagwan has to be always ready. So when you are in trips with Bhagwan like that, how did you ever face such situations? Nishikant Bhai, you went, I think his internet has paused. Let me, in the meantime, show you a little bit about his pictures. This is his Bhagwan blessing him. I think this was a birthday or something. And there are occasions when boys used to carry musical instruments, and Bhagwan would very lovingly bless that also. I'm sure you have seen Bhagwan holding even jazz drum and all that. So that is one of that's. Here he's doing an arati for Bhagwan in '96. He was the picture which he had come before to do a concert for Bhagwan. And behind him is the pujari of Mandir in those days. And this is in, I think, in Delhi. The Delhi trip, he was with Swami, and they are doing Pad Seva of Bhagwan. So I would like him to talk about it, and we can show it. Here he's back. Sairam Bhaiya.
Sir, I'm sorry, that was
I
a
was just,
power
I was
snack.
just, yeah, I was just trying to show pictures of yours.
Yeah.
So we were talking about it. Yes, please carry on.
So, as you said that when the boys, the students, can I ask you to repeat the question again?
No, I was actually asking you about, if you can name some boys, how they have achieved in life,
Okay.
and yeah,
Yeah. We
because they
have
play so much.
yes. We have some good singers from the college. Like we have Vivek Karma hai. Many of them know that he's performing. I was talking about these two students. It's Ishwarya Mahashabde and Vivek Karma hai, who have taken training from ITC SRA Calcutta from under Ustad Pandit Ullaskar Shalkar ji. and now they are professional singers also. Then we have some good tabla players. We have Rupak Desai. Many people know about Rupak. We have Hemendra Shah. We have Anurag Garu. I mean, many of them, so many of them. Then we have some Carnatic singers. We have Veena players. Bhaskaran is there. He's conducting classes. He's teaching in Malaysia, and they travel. They're performing together. So many of them have come out, and they are settled in as a musician and performing and teaching. Yeah.
Okay, I was asking you actually about your trip. You know,
Ah,
uncertainty
yeah,
of
yeah.
farming and
Okay.
asking you to
Yeah,
come
yeah.
and perform, be ready always in
Right.
your trips. So when you are going around with Bhagwan to Delhi, Shimla,
Yeah.
and Bombay and all that.
Especially, I will tell you the first trip I went along with Swami. That was 2007, Chennai Army. Army means Atirudra Mahayajna. They call it Army. So I was like, very not nervous, but very kind of new to everything. And the way Swami, took us in the flight, and he spoke to us in the flight, and stood up in the flight and blessed everyone while the flight was in, in air. And when we landed there, naturally Swami's car went, goes earlier quickly back to, it went to Sundaram ashram, and we later followed by the other vehicles, and we were maybe 20 minutes late or something like that behind Swami. But as soon as we hit over there, the people were ready. The several said, come, Swami is asking for program, your program. So we thought it's their program, because welcome songs, and they were, the Chennai group must have, definitely Tamil Nadu people must have prepared. But Swami said, no, your program. So, we had to just run with the harmonium, tabla, whatever we got, and run and sit in front of the mic and start the program. So, it's like you have to be continuously be ready. Some songs were ready, were prepared, so that is their homework is done. But you never know when Swami will say, okay, do it. Similar thing happened also in Shimla, in the Delhi trip also. And especially from Delhi, we went to Shimla. The Shimla people were ready to with the program and all that. And again, Swami asked, okay, I want boys program. So it happened, and again naturally we have to offer for Swami. So songs are ready. Same thing happened in Bombay also. We do believe that in Swami's almost the last trip of Swami, 2010, he went to Pune, Harshi, and then 3 days after Harshi, he went to Bombay. And in the evening, next day, we had a big stadium program, Prebon Stadium, where Pandit Shivkumar Sharma's son, Rahul Sharma, was going to perform Santur. And boys were there. We had a standby program always ready. And we had been performing in Dharmakshetra and everywhere along with him. So we were there in Pune, we performed for him. So in Pune, especially, I was wanting to tell you that the second day, first day we were there, we had small songs and all that, and we had artists, Kavita Krishnamurthy and Nitin Mukesh, and all the little champs, young champs were there from the young idols. They were there, and Swami was thrilled and very happy. And the next day he was. It was Swami's speech, the formal kind of inauguration and speeches and all that, and just few hours before that program was in the evening at 5, maybe at 2:30 or 3 o'clock, when Swami called everyone down for tea. We were there with Swami inside the ashram in Hadashi. Suddenly Swami said, Marathi kon karta hai? I mean, that means Marathi, who speaks Marathi? So 3, 4 of us raised our hand. Nitin, Acharya, myself, Niraj was there, and 1, 2 boys were there. And that's it. That was the only kind of thing he asked. And he called us there and he said, Marathi karta hai? And I was like, okay, that's it. When we go to the function, we sit in the tabla, songs are there, we have bhajans, everything is done, and the speeches start. So the main speech by the person who built the ashram, Mr. Jadhav, he spoke. Then after that, All India President, the chairman of the trust, V. Srinivasan, he spoke, and then Swami was going to speak. So when the second speech was going on, we were sitting at the right side of the Swami. Swami is looking like this, and there's a massive crowd of like 35 to 40,000 people sitting on that hillock. Beautiful scenario, all arrangements made by Hadshi chief, the Jadhav Sahib. And Swami looked like that, and he looked at me and he called me like this. So I thought maybe it's some program or some song or something. I went over there, and the Swami pats me and says, "Okay, tum Marathi mein speech karo." Now For me, so I quickly reacted, sir, Swami, everyone is waiting for Swami's speech and they would like to hear Swami. Hey, Marathi mein speech karo. So I was nervous because my Marathi is bad, as bad as Hindi or English. So I said, Swami, Marathi, nahi karo karo. Then I asked him the topic. So Swami, क्या बोलूं मैं? That was the time when he told कि तुम्हारे grandmother का जो बताया वो बात करो. So I told the whole story about my grandmother in detail and the connection with Shirdi Baba in front of Sathya Sai Baba in Pune. I was very fortunate for that. And the next day in Bombay, we went and there were artists. So I was telling about this Pandit Shukumar Sharma's son, Pandit Rahul Sharma, to be performing. And, I was called in and said we have to accompany him. I said, fine. So we had a sound check. Wonderful sound, like amazing sound. We had, the best sound in Bombay and grandeur. The whole thing the stadium was lit up and decorated, festoons and all that. And Swami comes, he arrives, he gives darshan, and then he calls the boys and say, okay, all of Vajan boys come here. He blesses us, everyone, one by one, and says, okay, program karo. Now, actually the program is supposed to be by the artist, the Santur artist. But suddenly Swami says, no, tum program karo abhi, shuru karo. So naturally we sing and, perform. And so it's never you understand or never you know when Swami is going to ask you, when he's going to, you have to be prepared all the time. You can't say, Swami, I've got a bad throat. No, Swami, I hurt my hand. Nothing like that, sir. You have to do it, So
Nishikant
that
bhai,
was wonderful.
when you are in the trip, usually like in Chennai, in Delhi, not Delhi was at least a side building, but in Chennai it is like Swami staying up and you are
Yes.
staying down. So basically, in the same house you are
Yeah.
staying, and that experience is very unique. It's a
Yeah.
very emotional thing to realize that Bhagwan is in the same
It's
house
so
where
it's
you
so
are.
it's so amazing that to know that your resting place. I mean, wherever you are put up, and just one floor up or maybe a few rooms away, it's Swami's room and Swami's taking rest. So it's such a wonderful thing. So we were there for 2-3 days. I think 3-4 days we were there, and early morning. We are in a habit of practicing because Swami calls
Yeah,
for
that's why
program.
I'm asking you. How did you
So
practice
we
there?
need to do some warm up and some riyaz in the morning. So I used to sit in the hall in the corner, most farthest place from Swami's room. So we should not disturb Swami, and put a shawl on the tabla and play. Just like to make the fingers a little warm. Likewise, Ashwath Narayan, he was sitting somewhere and he's practicing his courage. He's doing the morning riyaz. And Sevadal are watching from there, they were like very eagerly watching what you guys are doing. And we are very careful. We see that we are very low volumed and not disturb Swami. But Swami, he knows everything. So it was really fun.
Did he acknowledge any time those things? Like, Bhagwan has his way.
Yeah.
Did he
Sorry, I
acknowledge?
could hear you.
I said, did he acknowledge your
Yeah, yeah,
practices and
yeah,
all? Or?
yeah. He said I heard, and then he said, "वो shawl क्यों डालता है तबले पे?" He told me that. So I said, "Swami disturb हो जाएगा." No, no, no. Remove the shawl. He said. So he's so dear and so loving.
No, I asked because I know there's a way how Bhagwan will show his omnipresence, that
Yes,
I
yes,
know what you're
absolutely.
doing and carry
Yeah,
on. I was
true.
actually sharing your Pad Seva, that picture.
Yes. Yeah,
And
we were very
remember that?
fortunate. We were very fortunate that during that visit, suddenly in the morning time, the second day, we were called inside Swami's own room, and me and Ashwath brother were there, and we were, just by Swami's,
That
command,
is
we
such a
we were
beautiful.
asked to do his path seva. Path Seva. So we sat down and we were doing Path Seva, where Anil Kumar sir was standing and reading out the newspaper. Yesterday's that whole happening, how Swami was welcomed and the whole function. It was all in the newspaper, and he was reading out to Swami. And the Swami was sitting on the chair, and the vice chancellor is standing there. So it is such a dear moment. It's like yeah. So I was
You
little
can
used
see
to
that, right?
do we were asked to do the path seva. So I was, kind of pressing Swami's feet very softly, and because we are touching Swami Lord's feet. So I was doing halka halka, like lightly I was doing. But then Swami looked at me and said, "Khana nahi khaya kya?" He said, "Didn't you have food? Do it strongly." That we did it strongly for Swami. So it was such a wonderful time. The same thing happened in Delhi also. We were
What is Anil Kumar sir reading? What is
Anil
Professor Anil
Kumar
Kumar
sir
reading?
is he is reading the newspaper, the local newspaper, in which Swami's previous days functions were all photographs and all details were mentioned, who were present, and he was reading out to Swami. Swami was like kind of enjoying it. Yeah,
Professor Anil Kumar has own style of doing things.
yeah. Anil Kumar sir
I
is like
love it.
I will tell you something about Anil Kumar sir, especially in Kodai. 2007 Kodai trip. And the moment we reached Kodai, and the next day morning, Swami's mood was off. We don't know what happened, and suddenly he said, "We'll all go back." We started singing. We were like, kind of apprehensive. What is Swami about? And nobody's like wanting to talk. Everyone is scared. Don't even want to look at Swami, because it is so dangerous to look at Swami at that time. And he's like looking around everywhere. He's not like looking angrily, but he's just looking around. And we could hear our own breathing. It's like 70 people sitting in the room, but we can hear your own breathing. That kind of pin drop silence is there. And Swami is sitting in one corner of that room and on his chair, and the other side of the diagonally opposite over there at the end of the room, big hall it is. Anil Kumar sir is sitting there, and he is talking from there to Swami in a low voice. Something is saying like that. I do not know what he was saying, and he was telling to Swami, and Swami is like getting lighter, and his slowly, there's no anger, but that annoyance was there. It is going off, huh? And he's cutting jokes from there. He's talking something in very low voice, and only Swami is replying him back. And you won't believe, in the next 5 minutes Swami started laughing, ha 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 ha, there, that room, yeah, that room. So Swami, that connection of Anil Kumar sir with Swami was so amazing, that within 5-10 minutes you could change Swami's mood from that kind of thing. I want to go back to normal, and he's like laughing out around. One more thing I would like to say. Well, this is the Harshi trip, and very very fortunate to by Swami to invite us all, selected few, to have lunch along with him on his dining table. That was like we can never imagine, and it's still unbelievable. It is really unbelievable.
I believe Swami used to have rotation, like boys used to have go in rotations
Yeah,
for food with Swami. That's so nice.
yeah, it is really.
Obviously, it's most precious and
Yeah,
rarest.
this was in Delhi.
This
Yeah,
is in Delhi, yes.
Delhi trip. This was at Chima sir's house, I think, and this
No,
was,
this is okay. Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
yeah, I think Chima sir's house maybe. Yeah. So we had a wonderful time in Kodai. I would like to mention that that was one of the longest trips we had. I think 23 or 24 days along with Swami. One of the longest trips, that was said. So every day he was in a different mood. Every day some new things were happening. Sometimes Mira bhajans, sometimes just songs, or sometimes just listening and nothing happening, just normal. Okay, bye. You can have your lunch, dinner, and go to sleep. Or sometimes you used to suddenly make stand up. Okay, you stand up and talk, and Swami used to give topic. That was the most dangerous time, when Swami makes you stand up and talk at random. And so one of such occasions, Swami was in a lighter mood, and in the previous Kodai trip, maybe there were one two boys students who had done some mimicry in front of Swami, and they were there in that trip too. So somebody suggested, Swami, these boys are there. He makes nice hen sound. He makes nice buffalo sound, all that thing. So, and Swami said, okay, okay, whenever. So one by one they come down and do their own presentation, like that, and you won't believe the hen sound, the rabbit sound, the buffalo sound, all the sounds, donkey sound, cow sound. Swami was laughing like anything. He was laughing. Finally, he was out of breath, and we had to make the boys stop. Okay, stop now. Come on. The senior people are coming on, and they come kind of calming Swami. So you just take it for like granted. Just go on, and those were the times you couldn't believe. I mean, are we really sitting with God? Or it's just like so friendly. It's like you know just as a friend. That's it. More like a granddad, we can say. Yeah.
I would like to remind you of one more thing, which I think it will be wonderful for people to know: the concert in air.
Oh, the concert in air was massive. That was a historical thing because never it had happened, and of course, I think that was one of the only ones. That was what I heard from all the students. In that trip to Delhi in 2010, Swami was very much asking and demanding Delhi and Shimla. demanding, as I was saying, demanding about concert, about the program. So ye karo, wo karo. So we used to ask boys to come together and tell, okay, sham ko program karo. I mean, they had other programs too, but even we were made to sing and do. But and especially on the last day of the trip, that trip from Shimla back to Puttaparthi, actually from Delhi back to, we had to come to Delhi and catch the flight. So Swami, before leaving the ashram, again asked for a program. In fact, we were just sitting there. Normally, we saw Madhura Mohana, Ganeshamo, those really nice songs. Thanks, Swami, like offering of gratitude to Swami. Swami having tears in his eyes. And yet he's saying, no, 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 program chahiye, program chahiye. So that thing was going on somewhere in his mind. Later, what happened? Sorry. Later what happened was that we had this idea, a few of us, Ravi Teja sir, myself, Ravi Kumar sir, myself, I mean, 3, 4 of us were there. Venkateshwalu sir was there. Why not we do one thing? It's anyway chartered flight, and it's private this thing, and hardly, I mean, what, in the whole 150 passenger seat for plane, we are not even 70 or 60. So can we do something for Swami in flight? Because it's a big flight, 2.5 or a quarter to 3 hours of flight. So even if we can sing for 20 minutes, because Swami is wanting program, something is there in his mind. So why not we try? That thing, it started like that. So now it was the thing that who's going to ask Swami and how it's going to happen. So, few of us because we used to travel and all that frequently, we said one thing we can do is that you carry the instruments inside the cabin. That is the biggest thing to do. Once you have the instruments and show instruments to Swami, Swami said, okay, do it. Like, half the visa is there only. In the visa is your instrument. I mean, the instrument is your visa. So it worked. We talked to Chima sir and all. He said, hey, what you are talking here? What, enough of songs. Swami is already tired. Let him rest. I said, Swami is wanting program, so who's going to ask, So we kind of hinted to Satyajit brother. Satyajit sir, he said, let's see, we don't know, let's see, but at that it just stopped. But we were fortunate to take all sitar, tabla, harmonium, flute, everything, mridangam, everything inside the cabin, and we sat there. Now the Swami arrives, Swami takes his seat, the takeoff is there, Swami blesses the in the stewards and all that, the in-flight people, and after the flight is on, the food is served, everything is done, and now Swami is like relaxed. Okay, so it's time to go to Swami and ask about the thing. So few of us went over there, and Swami always sits in the first row, in the first seat. So when Swami saw all of us, and then he said, Amy, what's there? Then said, Swami wanted to have program over there. We could not do it for him. But if Swami wishes, for some time we will quickly do it over here. Quickly. Swami said, Ikkada, here, you will say where? There's no place to sit. In the flight. He was also kind of surprised. He knows everything, but he will show that way. And then immediately we are showing tabla, harmonium, sitar, like that, It was like making, showing his hand and to all India president and all that. See what these boys are up to. So you won't believe, in that small area where the pilot cabin is there and the stewardess junction is there and the seat starts, in that corner, in that small T, we sat with the harmonium, tabla, sitar, everything over there, and performed for Swami, offered for Swami whatever we could, taking turns. Some PS and P. Srinivasan and Ashwath Narayan.
I've seen more pictures where CG is playing. CG Sai
Yes.
Prakash is
Then
playing.
it started with that. Sai Prakash playing sitar and Ravi Teja brother playing flute.
Ravi Teja playing the
had a
flute.
Jugalbandi. I played for them, and some songs were there, and we took turns. Jagdish brother was playing tabla, Saidat Mridangam player also played tabla, or maybe dholak he played. So it was fun. It was unimaginable. I mean, in air, at that Ashwath is there. So it was, you could not just believe that this would happen. And Swami was nicely listening to it. So it was, his mercy, his wish, and his blessing, what we can say. That was the return flight.
I think there is Ravi Kumar lined up behind you. Everybody.
Swami had given that cap and he made us wear that cap and took the pictures. Shimachali Topi.
So sweet.
Yeah.
And this was the whole group with Bhagwan.
This was the group. Yeah. This was from Harshi, in Pune. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So it's not just like, uh, what do you say, element of surprise is there, but that some kind of a responsibility and that fear has to be there. Fear in the sense that I should not be wrong, I should not be overconfident about myself, or I should, the worst thing is the ego part. You have to be very very careful, because Swami injects with that ego thing. That's the biggest thing, you have to be very careful about. And me especially, being an outsider. Why I'm saying outsider? Because neither I was a student that time, neither a teacher. Later he made me a teacher in 2007. But I had to be ultra careful. But I was always guided by and trained and mentored by Anil Kumar sir, and previously in previous years, Gandhi Kota sir and the seniors. Hey boy, do this thing, do not do this thing. Even Vadad sir, Shiv Shankar Sai also. Better do this thing. Swami is talking to you. That doesn't mean blah 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 blah. Don't do this thing. All these things were told. So it was
Nishikant
there.
bhai, there's a question which Sister Poonam is trying to ask. People, like, her intent is that, like you said, devotion to Bhagwan because of Swami, it is very easy. She's asking for people who don't have this privilege of with interaction with Saima, and Swami has not granted that movement with him. How do you achieve that
That,
bhava?
see, one thing is there. When we share these stories, we are not anybody special. We are all equal. It is sheer Swami's mercy that we are just there accidentally or with his will. But as for physically, Swami, maybe it is not possible for everyone to have interaction with Swami. Even today, Swami, we can't see Swami as physically, but we believe in him, we love him, we experience him. So that is the connection. And one thing is there: you do any seva, you do any sadhana, whatever you do. But first of all, your behavior, your acharan, okay, your kartavya, your karma. That's what it is. The karma is in our hands. You have to do the correct karma. You can't just like do meditation throughout the day and do all nonsense things. That is not going to help us. So Swami has said in a very nice way that he said, you be a better person, be a simpler person, have simpler and correct karma, and along with that, if you do sadhana, it is more profound. But if you are not changing your karma and you are just doing sadhana, it's not going to work. So, this is like too heavy to understand, and whatever little bit we read and heard from Swami, we are reading from Sathya Sai Speaks. So, the connection happens more when you read Swami, not about Swami. So about Swami, to acha lagta hai. It's nice. Like we are having a talk about Swami, we share things, we feel elated, we feel motivated, we feel emotional, and we get more closer to Swami. But also, I mean, what I have experienced also, there were times when you get nervous, we feel lost at certain times. Then the best thing to do is read Sai literature. Like Sathya Sai speaks, his like for 40, 45, 50 volumes are there. Take open any book and you read. I'm sure you get the answer in few pages.
I'm
And
sure.
because it is
Yeah,
his
sure.
words, those are his words, and it's direct between you and him. And nobody is like, there's no need for any other thing. So belief is more important. But as they say, that physical thing to yearn, we see in one thing is there, what Swami has told many people. So also I was been told that in we are what whoever have seen Swami, heard Swami, bless got blessed from Swami, know about Swami, are there with him in all avatars. That's what he said. We might be a stone, I might be a dog, you might be a cat or something like that, or a tree, but we were there all the time. We never know. He's been, carrying us all along with that. So that is also our great fortune. Why are we here? Why could we see Swami? And even after all that, in this planet, on this planet, we have seen Swami where in the same time when other people are there, they have not seen Swami. So that is also our punya karma, So we are to be ultra blissful and thankful, and that full sense of gratitude has to be there. That we are already blessed, we are connected. There's nothing separate as physical proximity or that proximity. We are connected with God. So that is most
Nishant
important.
bhai, let me ask you one more question. Now we have come to the time now. So
Yes.
uh, after 2011, especially, obviously it was a very huge transition for all of us. And how was the transition in the college and with you?
Well,
What has
initially,
changed? What has not changed?
no, initially it was a big shock for the whole, all the devotees, the whole planet, whatever it is. It was there, yes. And one thing I would like to confess, we miss Swami. Yes, we have to accept that we miss Swami, not just physical part of it, but we miss him. Physical part is more important, of course. I mean, the missing part is connected with the physical form. That's what it is. But once you are connected with Swami, once you are there, and like after 2011, the new batches of students coming in, they are not seeing Swami. They don't know about Swami. They might not be even from Swami's fold, but still, uh, we believe that after they learn and they finish their courses and they pass out, they are connected somewhere or the other, and with spirituality, with goodness, with godness, with Swami. Something is connected over there. So initially, immediately after 11, it was difficult, but slowly, slowly, we made a habit of having more study circles, sitting down together, sharing each other's thoughts, okay, coming out with emotions, and sometimes even we cried out. Yes, there's nothing shy about it. Because, same thing has happened with Krishna in the Gopikas, same thing has happened with everyone. So we are nothing different, and we are fortunate. We don't call ourselves Gopikas and Gopas. We don't know all that, but why not? Is also the thing. Why not? If you are really connected with Swami, if you are really doing that sadhana, having your acharan that way, you are connected. You don't have to have a certificate like, okay, this is the certificate. He is a devotee, he is a non-devotee. We have no right or authority for that. It is between you and God. That is personal, and so that is very important to understand and make it very clear. you know so that makes it more, that made us more kind of relaxed and connected. Then of course, and one thing is there, his experiences keep on coming. He guides us all the time. It's not that his experiences have gone चमत्कार बंद हो गए अभी. We used to get phone calls, अरे स्वामी अभी पुट्टपर्ती में अभी क्या नया चमत्कार, क्या है, क्या नया कुछ है क्या. People call, I won't believe. you know so for who are we to answer that? But still, because physically we stay in Puttaparthi, and we said, okay, see, Swami is everywhere, he conducts everything is happening. People are following, trying to follow Swami's thing. Swami's
Let me
institutions and Swami's
translate
projects are going on.
translate that line in English for people. He said people call you and ask what is the new miracle happened in Puttaparthi now.
Yes, yes.
So such kind of calls you get.
Yeah. I mean, being, sir, we are a professor, blah, blah, blah. Okay, what is the new, any experience, Vibhuti is coming or not? Or, I mean, they're so concerned, it's still happening or not. See, that is that desire to know, that want, that concern, which might be
Nishikant Bhai, maybe I feel we will have one more session with all your teachers and others,
sure,
and to take people through a journey of music college, typically,
definitely.
so that
Yes,
they get an inside view of the music college, how it is,
great,
running, and where it stands today, and what
yes,
happens in the
right.
classrooms.
Yeah,
So maybe
we
that.
first of all pray that this lockdown and this Rona business we stopped, the co-Rona business. Let it go off, and with Bhagwan's bliss, let everything fall in place and have a normal kind of college. Then it will be
Sure.
more interesting, and to talk and to show, and especially the students also. That is,
Yeah,
that's
because
our
that
main
will be a
backbone.
nice thing to people to get an idea
The
as to
students are our backbone.
how Bhagwan has installed these things, and his
Yes,
when God himself does it, it has to run in a beautiful manner. And
absolutely.
thank you so much. I don't know. I can only thank you. This is the music. One of
Yeah,
the
our
beautiful
music group.
pictures of
Uh,
yours.
yeah.
So I thank you for your time, and you're so willingly sharing your beautiful journey with us.
It's my privilege, and how can I thank you and have show my gratitude to Bhagwan? But Abhi, Vanubhai, it is really a big, blessing for me to share and be with you, and with all my Sai devotees and our brothers and sisters across the world. A big Sairam, a loving Sairam to all of you.
We
That's what
only
I
can offer our gratitude to Bhagwan for giving
definitely.
us this continued blessings and
Yes, absolutely,
opportunities to share his glory and to learn more facets about Swami. So we'll
definitely.
continue this. As always, this video will be available on the channel. You all are welcome to watch, share, and feel free to enjoy the glory. And we'll
Yeah.
see you next week again by Swami's grace. Thank you and Sai Ram.
Thank you, Sairam.